So there is really nothing like ending the day with a little inspiration. I met Bill maybe about a year ago virtually when he sent me the trailer to his film. And I have to admit that there are many people out there who want to make movies about their cancer journey. But the task of storytelling is something that very few have mastered. If you had the chance to watch Can You Hear My Voice before the session, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you will get a sneak peek during this session, and you will have until the end of the day tomorrow, or we may even extend it throughout the weekend to watch it via the link that's in Sked, and I'll email it out to you all to make sure you have it as well. We will put it in the chat too at the end of the session. So what I'd love to do right at the beginning is play the first clip to kind of set the stage.
I started getting a hoarse voice, and as the months progressed, it got worse and worse. The drains around, so that would be 5-7 days after my operation.
I thought he was really gonna die.
I lost all my confidence and didn't want to speak.
It just changed her personality.
I didn't want anybody else to really see me or hear me. Once I'd been diagnosed with cancer, I went into a survival mode.
Usual protocol, Andrew. I'm going to clip on the count of 3, I'm going to pull it out. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
I can show you my hurts. I can show you my pain. In every scar of my own shame.
I remember quite well when I first suggested let's form a choir. They responded with laughter and surprise and disbelief.
It just seemed ridiculous how you would expect a group of people with no voice boxes to stand up and sing in a choir.
Most of them never sang before. Most of them never were on stage before. And they're going to put on a show, and they're going to add this other 2 or 3 layers of emotional vulnerability.
All right, everyone, just relax. We are prepared, right?
We're doing a concert. The adrenaline rush is incredible. I never thought I would do something like this.
Okay, so I hope that you were able to, hear and see what I heard and saw. Very moving. So it is absolutely my honor to have Bill Brummel, who produced and directed this film, with us today. It is a defiant and mad scheme for sure. Bill, welcome. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for sharing this. I have to know, what were you thinking? And how did you come across this most unlikely group?
Well, first of all, thank you, Suzanne and Livestrong, for putting on this wonderful event, this Icon Summit. I was able to listen in to some of the previous speakers, and so informative and inspiring. So kudos to you. So how did I come up with the idea? Well, I think, as you'll see in the full film and the clips that we will play today, there are a host of emotional and psychosocial issues facing people with had a laryngectomy. I struggled with many of these problems in the first year after my surgery. So about 9 months post-surgery, I had an appointment with my physician and surgeon, Uttam Sinha of Keck Medicine of USC. And out of the blue at that appointment, he suggested that I make a documentary about the psychosocial aspects of recovering from and living with a laryngectomy. I thought to myself, stick to medicine, doc. I'm the expert now. But, just kidding. It was an excellent idea. But I knew that I was not alone in my harrowing recovery experiences from a laryngectomy. But I was in a unique position as a laryngectomy and a filmmaker to tell the story. But what my doctor had suggested was a topic, not a story. So I went home, fired up Google, and went in search of the perfect story to illustrate the topic. And very quickly, I came across the Shouted Cancer website. And Shouted Cancer is an organization in the UK who seeks to provide rehabilitation for voice rehabilitation for people who have lost their vocal cords. And one of the ways they do this is a choir. Now, from a film and TV producer perspective, the idea of a bunch of people without voice boxes singing in a choir really leapt out to me. It's what we call a hook. But what stood out most was a video on the website of Sarah, who you saw in that clip. And you'll see more of her today. She was emotionally talking about the role that Shouted Cancer played in her emotional recovery from the laryngectomy. And I knew right then I had an articulate character who viewers would be drawn to. And after contacting Thomas Morris, the choir director and founder of Shouted Cancer, I knew that the choir would be the perfect vehicle for telling the story that I wanted to tell. And that is people dealing with all the emotional and physical hardships of a laryngectomy or cancer in general, yet still living confident and meaningful and productive lives. And it was really important to me that the film deliver a message, but at the same time be entertaining. And the characters in the choir, in the film and in the choir are very honest, funny at times, and delightful. And the music and performance pieces, I think, are brilliant. And so when you watch the full movie, you'll shed a couple of tears. You'll also laugh and cheer with and for this choir.
Oh, Bill, this is a very, you talk about the choir, but you're not getting out of this that easy because this is really a personal journey for you. Good try, though. Good try. This is really a personal journey. Would you be willing to share just a little bit? Because you also don't have a voice box.
Yeah, I do not have a voice box. So yes, I'm perfectly willing to share that. My cancer journey started in 1997 when I was diagnosed with tonsil cancer, which had spread to lymph nodes in the right side of my neck. I was 41 years old, married with children in elementary school. I had a lot to live for. And after undergoing a radical neck dissection, I endured aggressive radiation treatments, a hefty dose over a wide field for 7 weeks. Then life started to return to normal. I got on with my career and raising a family. But over time, the long-term damage from the radiation treatments began to take a toll. I developed a hoarse voice, neck pain, had several surgeries to remove polyps from my vocal cords. But the most serious side effect as time went on was my trachea was slowly narrowing because of scarring from the radiation, making it more and more difficult to breathe. By about 2015, I think, I couldn't even climb a few stairs without getting winded. My wife said she could hear my labored breathing from other rooms of the house. Now, as my breathing difficulties increased, Dr. Zinha advised me that a laryngectomy was likely in my future. His immediate concern was that I might have a respiratory crisis at home or at work, requiring paramedics to perform an emergency tracheostomy in the field, a procedure that usually yields less than stellar results. Dr. Sinha kept promising me that my quality of life would improve in the long term. Then he kept urging me to consent to the laryngectomy, but I was in denial, and this went on for 6 months or so. I couldn't imagine living without a voice box and breathing through a hole in my neck. I thought, he had to be lying. So I continued to stall. But soon my deteriorating condition was obvious to about everyone. My work colleagues noticed my weakened voice from the scarred vocal cords. Mild exertion left me severely winded. Then on March 10th, 2016, I went to a regularly scheduled doctor's appointment. And when Dr. Sinha heard me struggle to breathe and speak, he immediately interrupted me and said, "Bill, we can't wait any longer. We have to do the laryngectomy now." I was stunned, but not surprised. I could really at that point, I could no longer keep my denial. I couldn't invent any more excuses. And as I sat in the exam room with my wife, Dr. Sinha attempted to schedule the surgery for the very next day. But the operating room was entirely booked, fully booked. But he considered my condition so serious that he didn't dare delay. He assembled a full surgical team to come into the OR on Saturday. So I was scared and uncertain on that Saturday. And I think we have a brief clip. This is not a clip from the movie. We have a brief clip. My wife was in the waiting room with me, and she took out her phone and she said, I want to record something with your voice now, before you lose your voice, such as it is. And this is what she recorded.
Okay, what's happening today?
It's 5:30 in the morning, March 12th, 2016. And today I'm giving away my vocal cords. And we'll walk out of here, hopefully with a few days, with a voice prosthesis and a new voice. Although I won't be able to test the voice for several weeks. I'll have to be silent, which will please many people around me. So that is what is happening. Last time you'll hear this voice. So to all of you, I love you. Thank you for all your support and prayers. Here we go.
So that was the day, that was about 5:30 in the morning. Maybe I sounded so bad because it was so early, but about a 6-7 hour surgery that day. And, recovery for me personally was awful, physical recovery. But as time went by, worse yet was I was saddled with insecurity and fear and doubt. Laryngectomies, or people who had a laryngectomy, sometimes tend to retreat from society, withdrawing into a world where we don't have to speak or be seen in public or eat in public, which is also very difficult. So there were times where I found it easier to isolate rather than navigate. But with a ton of support from my medical team, my family and friends, support groups, I was able to turn the corner. And all along the way, my medical team, especially Dr. Sinha, urged me to take control of my own recovery. Dr. Sinha's long preached about a holistic approach to health that includes traditional medicine, nutrition, mindfulness, exercise. So I took his preaching to heart. I started a walking regimen that started with, walking a quarter of a block and back, but eventually led to 4 or 5 mile hikes 6 days a week. I did daily stretching exercises, which I still do. When stress crept in, I practiced deep breathing. I started to eat a healthier diet. And slowly I regained confidence and realized that my life is not over. It's just changed. And these experiences in part informed me as I made Can You Hear My Voice?
Yeah. How important was it to you to make sure that that emotional piece translated into this film?
Wait, which emotional piece are you talking
The emotional piece of losing your voice,
Yeah,
of suddenly not being you.
yeah. There's so much of our identity is wrapped up in the way we sound from the time we're born. And it's a part of us. And to lose that is very difficult. And on top of that, when you consider that losing your voice, and when you lose the vocal cords, they take the trachea and they bend it to the neck and they sew a hole in the neck. And so the trachea is this hole in the neck. I no longer breathe through my mouth and nose. It's a physical impossibility. So with all of these things, it's a real difficult transition, and it's hard to speak loudly. When I go into a restaurant, if the restaurant's crowded, I'm not talking. It's hard to eat, even if I'm not at a restaurant, because you can't eat and speak at the same time. And having a meal with someone is a very social activity. So you just tend, a lot of laryngectomies tend to just, sort of slowly isolate themselves. And that's never a good recipe, because when you do, depression is sure to follow. So I wanted to make that a part of the film, because, as I said earlier, I wanted the film to be entertaining, but I didn't want to sugarcoat the experience of laryngectomy and patients. So that was definitely a part of it. And, I mentioned the first time I saw Sarah on the Shouted Cancer website, I knew I could make her cry. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I know that she would tell the story emotionally and with such honesty and vulnerability. There's some words that are hard to pronounce with a voice prosthesis, and vulnerability is one of them.
Well, it definitely gives you a sense that there's more about surviving than just that physical piece, right? It's more than just learning how to talk again or learning how to swallow. It's a re-understanding of who you are, because your voice literally has been taken from you. Exactly.
And I think all the choir members profiled in the film are great examples of this and how to do it. The film doesn't give you a step-by-step guide about how to do it. And we're just telling stories about how individuals did it. So, but I think you get the point after a while.
How did you choose? I assume you went and met everybody. Was it hard to pick and choose who you were going to profile and who you didn't put in the film?
Yeah, it was very difficult. I knew that all along I wanted to intersperse the story of the choir preparing for the big concert with individual personal stories. Really, the daunting part was deciding on which individuals to film and which ones to use. So on a research trip, I went to the houses. There's 10 choir members in the film. I went to the houses of 8 of them and did pre-interviews, not without a camera, did pre-interviews with all of them, and whittled it down to 5. I knew that 5 of them was too many. But I wanted to film 5 just in case we had problems with any story problems with any of them. I knew that we'd probably only include 3. So, but I wish we could have included all 5. The 2 we left out were done so because they were a little thematically repetitive and because I didn't want a 2-hour film, but it was really a tough decision. But there's really no other way to tell the story except in an intimate fashion. I wanted to address that in a shooting style, up close with a slightly drifting camera where viewers can clearly see surgery scars and the manner in which we breathe through our necks. But it was difficult. Like I said, we left 2 out, and I regret it leaving 2 out. But I know that the film would be too long if I didn't cut them out.
Yeah, absolutely. What can you? I'm thinking about how the people that you spoke with and the people that you featured, and even those that you didn't, when they first met you, and that instant connection, they must have been willing to perhaps be more vulnerable with you than they may have been with someone like me.
The fact that I was, I had the same surgery as they did, and our journeys aren't all exactly the same, but there's similarities. So I understood what they were going through. They understood what I went through. So it's an instant connection, and that definitely helped. But even with that, a couple of them were weary about sharing their story on film.
Instant celebrity.
Yeah, they didn't have any problems sharing it with me one-on-one, but they were worried about what it would bring. So I tried to speak with them and that I would be sensitive to their story, and I wasn't going to do anything. There's a lot of tricks people play when they're producing nonfiction TV and stuff, to get people to say things. I wasn't going to do anything like that, and I wasn't going to put anything on air that would embarrass them in any way.
So, production question, since you brought it up, and tricks of the trade. Did you film the concert first or last or somewhere in the middle?
Somewhere in the middle. The concert was